gentle souls, fellow podcasters, fellow musicians, fellow get shit doners. Get shit doners. I like that one. Deciding to go against protocol. Recording this on the way into work. Generally, these are always recorded on the way home from work, but not today. Today, we're doing something a little different. And the reason for that is I got something to say. So, I made a commitment this week to listen to more podcasts, as if I have the time to, but I feel I need to be responsible as it relates to being a podcaster that is involved with his community and involved with the people that listen. And I don't want to just be the guy that does his own show, lives in a bubble, and does nothing. Now, I know my co-host, Fast Red Fingers, has even gone out and he's gone and listened to some of these other podcasts as well. And I do have my regulars I listen to, but I have not been expanding my audience as much as I like to, or as much as I said I should do. So, earlier this week, on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, I said that I was going to try to listen to nothing but new podcasts this week. And thus far, I have done that. I'm not listening to anything that was previously in my bubble. That means no Beaver Does Movies, no Witch Police, no Winnipeg Music Project, no Primarily Critical, no Sofa King, no Joe Rogan, no ID10T, no Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, none of that. I haven't listened to a single one of those this week. Mind you, it's only Wednesday, but nonetheless, I have gone out and I found 2 podcasts. I've listened to an episode each of them. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, everyone that I follow, I've listened to. So I only found 2. So that's odd. So I went down the rabbit hole and said, well, I'm sure I follow more podcasts than this. There's podcasters that I'm following on Twitter or on Instagram that, I must have them added to my playlist or something. I just, haven't downloaded any episodes or anything. And I went through and I found an egregious, there's the word for the day, folks, example of me not paying it forward like I should be. What I learned is that there are multiple podcasts that are following me. Oh, yeah. See, live and in the raw, this guy's being a dick. No signal lights, just switching lane to lane to lane to lane. Because he's in a bigger hurry than anyone else could ever be. Anyway, I went through the list of people following me on my various accounts. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to see who's following me. Because I know because they've asked to follow. But I know there's other shows that are following me that I'm not following in return. So maybe I should go through these. Find a couple. Listen to their shows. If I like it, I'll go and follow them. I try to be fairly careful about who I follow. If I'm following somebody, I actually want to know them or have engaged with them in some way. There's this guy, Romulo. He's an artist that I've seen some of his work on Instagram, and he liked a post or 2 of mine. And I guess I'm like, wow, that's really nice. And I looked at his work, and I kind of checked his page out. I'm like, hey, wow, this is really good stuff. So I sent him a message to tell him so. So if I'm following you, I've had some interaction with you in some way, shape, or form. I don't like to just follow and not be interactive. For me, Twitter, Instagram, all those things, those are interactive places. And if you like something, don't just like something. Comment on it. Say something. Be interactive. Let's be social about social media. So I went through my followers list, and then it was very daunting, because what I realized was there's so many on here that I don't know who they are. I don't know anything about them. I don't know anything about their shows. They often get retweeted or liked by someone else that I'm consciously aware of and that I follow, and whose podcast I probably listen to. Like there's the legions that follow Verbal Diorama, or the legions that follow, Movies After Work, or, some of those podcasts that I'm familiar with, I've had interactions with, but they live in far distant cities from where I live. But the people on these podcasts are nice enough to interact back, and some of their followers, I think, somehow have happened upon my own feeds. So I'm going through and I'm like, okay, what am I going to listen to? And I'm scrolling. I'm going, oh my God, this is painful. I want to do this justice, and I want to do it right. And I do want to listen to new podcasts, and I want to find, the next gems that, will remain in my playlist forever. Fanboy and the Hater, that's another great one that, I listened to. It was a recommendation from somebody, and I listened to it, and I'm like, wow, this is innovative, different. And I reached out to them, and we did a quick cross-promotion on each other's shows, and it was great. And I'm following them forever now, and I listen to their shows, and they're great. So how do I get these other people at that level? And I don't want to be disingenuous. For all the ones that follow me, there's a lot of podcasts on there that are not in my wheel realm that I would like to give a chance to listen to, but I don't have a job where I can listen to podcasts all day at my job. I don't. It's my trip to and from work, and more than occasionally, that to and from work is when I'm recording podcasts. So really in the morning is when I can listen. And to be honest, I'm not listening at the moment I'm recording. So I don't have a lot of time to listen to everything I would like to listen to. The thing that I've realized at this stage of my life is time is the most precious commodity. And, I need that time. I'm going to try to speak up. It's a little louder on the highway here. So I don't have a lot of time. I don't, all the best intentions and everything, I can't manufacture time. So here's something that's happened in the past. And, I'm gonna use a great example here. I met Beaver Does Movies a couple years ago at the podcast festival, the first annual podcast festival here in Manitoba. And I immediately went and downloaded an episode of the show. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't, I didn't listen to it at the right time, or what, whatever that may be. But I listened to it, and then I kind of forgot about it. Kind of moved on. I mean, the guy was a super nice guy. Maybe I'll give him another shot. So, I love the James Beaver podcast, and I listen to a lot. I actually went back catalog with the bloke, and, found some other stuff, found some older episodes and started digging into his catalog. And I'm like, what if I hadn't met him again, or I wasn't going to have another interaction with him again? Maybe I wouldn't have given this guy another chance and listened to it. Because the thing is, when you're listening to a podcast, it's all about being in the right mood, the right headspace. Things got to click for you to click with that show. And I hadn't with James, and I gave it another chance, and I really loved the show. But at the time when I listened to that, that one episode, for some reason it didn't click with me. And then I'm wondering how many of these great podcasts that could become favorites for me that never will, because I never gave them that second chance. And then I started reflecting on, okay, fine. maybe I'm not listening to the right episodes. Maybe I should know which episodes to listen to. There's a lot of assholes on the drive here this morning. This is, you know what? This guy that just passed me here. Hey, I'm going the speed limit and some change right now. And this guy is going well over the speed limit. And he's getting frustrated with me because I am driving, because I am speeding. And I'm not speeding fast enough. In the raw, folks, that's what this show is. Audio quality, screw that. I'm driving. I don't have a studio in my car. But we won't be in the studio on Friday. So back to what I was saying. So I think what I need to do is I think I need to be a bit more smart about listening to new podcasts. Instead of just, I like discovering things. You know, the old days, you go to the record store and, you know, you go through the bins and see a picture that's really interesting. You just pick up that disc, CD, tape, you know, whatever era you're from, and take it home. And you would give it a chance because it's in your player. You can't. I had an aversion, even when CDs came around, to skip tracks. I don't like skipping tracks. I like listening to albums. And I would give them a chance. And, you know, they didn't have to hook me on one song. They had the entire album to hook me. So I think I need to do the same thing with podcasts. Now, you can't do that with a podcast because if someone's got 138 episodes, there's no way I can safely listen to 138 episodes. I need a select handful, the greatest hits, if you will. So, if anyone's listening to this, I'm going to reach out to a number of podcasts that do follow me, and I'm going to ask them, look, I haven't sampled your podcast yet. Please, give me the top 3 episodes. Not necessarily the most downloaded episodes, but your favorite top 3 episodes, the ones you had the most fun doing, because I don't care what the audience likes. I care if the podcasters say episode 137 is the epitome of what this show is about and it's got the least amount of downloads, I still want to listen to it. I want frankness from these podcasters. I want them to tell me, look, give me your 3 episodes. I'm going to take a listen. I'm taking a chance on you, and, you know, to further expand everyone's audience, because that's what we're doing. The people that listen to the most podcasters are podcasters themselves. So that's my request. If you follow me, or even if you don't, or this is your first time listening to this show, and you're like, wow, this particular episode's not hitting me, you're probably listening to the wrong episode. But this is me unbridled and truthful and introspective. So, if you're listening, send me an instant message me on my Twitter feed, on my Instagram feed, on my Facebook feed, Reddit, Tumblr, wherever you find me. Always look for SeanGeek Podcast, at SeanGeek Podcast, on all those places. Send me a message, hey, I got a podcast, I'd really like you to listen. Here are 3 episodes you should sample. Now, I'm probably going to do the same thing on my Twitter feed, on my Instagram, on my Facebook feeds. But just in case you're listening, I'm putting it out there. I just want my intentions to be known. And I don't have enough characters in a Twitter feed to tell people how, you know, what I'm thinking, or all that sort of stuff. One thing that came up that was really interesting is I was looking at some of my most popular episodes, and a lot of those had to do with the dated ones. Now, I've changed format. Sam and I were talking about this, but I've changed format on how, you know, I'm laying the episodes out. And I've decided to go away from seasons. When the show started, there was a reason for seasons. There wasn't, you know, hiatuses or anything like that. It was, you know, I'm changing the format of the show. I don't want to rename the show. I'm just changing the format of the show. Instead of starting a brand new podcast with a brand new name, I'm like, no, this is the SeanGeek Podcast, and this is a very dangerous situation ahead of me. I don't know what this person is doing, but they are driving in the fast lane on the highway. They're bobbing and weaving like they've been drinking. And they are going 70 clicks in 100. And the guy's picking his nose and on his phone. Awesome. Okay, back to driving. So some of the more popular episodes have been the ones that was me talking about the book. And I had a chat with my beautiful wife, and she said, like, why do you keep giving these writing updates? Like, just forget about it. Just, people don't want to hear that. And I'm like, wow, I kind of took it to heart, and I kind of backed off on writing updates. She's more of the idea, look, get your stuff done. This is a solitary endeavor when you're writing a book. Write the book, get it done, and then put it out, and then you can promote the shit out of it. And I kind of maybe took it to heart a little bit because I haven't been doing these extra episodes kind of middle of the week or things that are kind of showing up. I haven't been doing any of these episodes. I'm just doing the regular thing, doing the weekly with an occasional insert here and there, something topical. And I realized I kind of miss doing these. And people are, I also don't want people to think, oh, okay, well, he stopped posting about his book that he's working on. Does that mean he's fallen off the wagon? He's not working on the book. He's not editing. He's not providing us updates, so therefore he's not working on the book. And no, that is the opposite of true. I did have a couple of changes in how I've been editing and when I edit and how I edit. I'm still in the middle of that insertion part of the editing. I posted a picture showing my new writing space, which has made things a lot easier. I've been doing a lot of editing at lunchtime in a coffee shop or in my car when it was warmer. And it's not comfortable, it's not conducive. I don't have a lot of time. I mean, it's a lunch hour, but I have to get somewhere and I have to get back. And occasionally my computer says, hey, you need to do these updates and you should do them right now. So, all in all, I'm getting maybe half an hour writing. And in some cases, that's good and that's enough. That's enough, editing time. Half an hour is sometimes plenty. But if you're editing a chapter that's a bit longer and that needed a lot of work, and you start editing the chapter for half an hour, you stop, you go back, you continue editing that chapter for another half an hour, you stop, you go back, you lose consistency and you lose something. So I've relegated my editing time to trying to do it in the morning or at night at my writing space, and it's going so much better. I'm getting, editing can be stressful, and I've had moments of stress where well, what the hell am I going to do now with this part? This part doesn't work. This contradicts something I do earlier in the book, or whatever, and I get frustrated. And then there's a whole point of just working through that frustration and just getting the work done, and the time it takes to do that. Anyway, in a writing space works much better. So, updates on the book, yes, I am still editing the book. I had, during the insertion process, the editing process that I'm in right now, there was some major stuff that needed to be fixed. And I'd written down all the things I needed and wanted to be fixed. And while I was doing that, I realized that the fixes that I was, writing in my journal, that I, add here, do an insertion page 167, do an insertion page 209, do all those ones I'd written. Some of those I had to just axe, like they didn't work. I had great ideas, I can make this so much better if I do this and this, but in fact, it didn't make it better. It actually made things worse. So I've been working through that and getting through I've entirely restructured the first part of the book, the first chapter, the first, part of the book. It's probably the first, 100 pages of the book. And what I've realized is structurally, there's a few things that just aren't clicking exactly the way I want. Because I want this book to be as perfect as possible. And I realized the stuff wasn't connecting. It wasn't, I was giving away too much too soon. There wasn't enough mystery. There wasn't enough just flair. I was just being overly descriptive with some particular characters. So I've been restructuring. I've actually been, moving the chapters around, saying, okay, well, you know what, this particular chapter isn't going to happen here. It's going to happen much later. There's a particular chapter that happens 3/4 of the way through the book. I moved that to the first chapter. There was 4 or 5 chapters in the first 100 pages of the book. I've moved them off. Some of them I've utterly removed from the book. I'm saving those for book 2 or for the next 100 pages of the book. I'm trying to be, I feel like a surgeon with a knife. There's certain things that this book does not need in order to survive, in order to thrive. And there's certain parts that need to be removed for the whole to be better. So that's what's going on right now. So I'm reworking through the first 100 pages of the book. And I've resorted all the chapters now. I have a definite plan. I'm almost done that first third of the book, which is really the introduction to the characters, the introduction to the world, the introduction to the threat, what the threat is, and various other things. So, I need to be able to work through that flow. That flow in the beginning of the book is always the hardest and most important because A, I have to hook the reader. B, I have to establish the world so to get the reader interested. Okay, well, if you're not describing the world, then this book is happening in a vacuum and there's no context to the real world, so you don't really know, you don't understand the gravity of any sort of situation happening or why a character would do something the way they would. In a particular world, a character's actions may mean nothing, and there may be no gravity to it. But in a different kind of world, all of a sudden, there's intrigue, there's suspense. So what I did is I took a part from the book, I totally cut it out of a chapter that happens later in the book, and I put it as the intro to the book. An established chapter. And then the other chapters that I was working on, what I did is I completely downplayed the villain role. I want more build-up towards the villain. More build-up, not towards the villain. I want more build-up towards the event that sets everything up. So there's a single event that sets everything up. And I wanted more build-up towards that. Originally, the event happens right at the beginning of the book. And I took that out. Instead, I did an establishing chapter to establish the world. And then I switched things around. So there's suspense immediately. Okay, this is the world we live in. I understand that. Something's happening with these characters. I don't know if they're related or not. But maybe they are, and if they are, what's that relation? What's going on? Why is someone targeting them? So now there's a sense of suspense tied to the world, and it actually really works very well together, the way I've done it. So that's what I've been doing, and it's really it's making sure everything is set up. Making sure everything is set up so you actually have something to work off of and work with. So anyway, so that's what's going on. That's what I've been doing. Oh, now I'm stuck behind 3 or 4 plows. There's no snow. The snow's been cleared, but the plows are out. This is fantastic. Well, at the speed we're going, which is 5 kilometers an hour, I am never going to make it to work. It's fantastic. Oh, boy. Oh, okay, you know what? I take it back. They're clearing sidewalks. Heavy kid area here, so the kids now have a place to walk, not in the middle of the road. All right. So anyway, so that's what's happening with the book. Yes, the book's happening. I was committing to trying to get this off the ground and final edited by January. And then when I found those things, and actually I've been following a lot of different authors on Twitter, authors that are not published, writers that aren't published yet, and actually published authors. And there's quite a few things that popped up. There's people that were meeting deadlines, putting out inferior product, that they admitted were inferior product. And then there was people that self-publish themselves, and there's a big movement of people just, I'm not going to bother editing my book. I'm not going to hire an editor for my book. I'm going to edit myself, and I'm going to put it out, and that's the right way to do it. So I was following this whole movement of, the book should be first draft, should be published. And there's the whole other side saying the first draft should never be published. So it really got me thinking, look, I'm not going to bother putting this book out until it's ready. I am setting myself deadlines, but if something pops up while I'm editing, instead of meeting the deadline and putting out an inferior product, I'm going to try to put out the best product I can. And I realize it will never be perfect, but, I want it to be as good as possible. So I've taken a step back on trying to, I was trying to meet the January 1st date and say, what, screw it. It's going to come out when it comes out. I'm still shooting for the earlier part of this year, but I need to get through this edit. And once I get through this edit, then I can very safely say, this is when it's done. So I'm looking at a few things. Looking at beta readers. That was something that was highly recommended. I've been looking at self-publishing. I've been looking at going through publishers. And Mr. Gregory Chemichuk said that, there's a gap in Canadian publishing at the moment. That, no one's filling that gap. And I'm kind of like, well, am I going to spend, the rest of my life trying to find a publisher willing to publish my book and going through that whole rigmarole of finding an agent and then, and then spending all this time just to get my book in someone else's hands when I can just take control and put it out in my own hands. So then I was looking at what people are doing, self-publishing their stuff, like just basically going through Amazon and seeing what they're doing. And I'm like, I don't know if I like what's happening here. I don't know if I like the Amazon approach or not. Like, I really don't. So, in terms of release, advertising, marketing, all that sort of stuff, I'm still a little lost. But I'm not going to worry about it now. I'm just going to get the book done and as good as possible, and then worry about the rest later. Okay, so that's it. I'm done. See you guys on the flip side. Special episode being recorded Friday night. It's going to be Star Wars centric. Very excited. So see you guys on the flip side.